I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think ultralight backpacking is super misunderstood. I find anytime there's a discussion about ultralight backpacking, there's always some shaming that goes on in, the methods and ways that people shave weight out of their backpack. And I think that people are focusing too much on the ways people are shaving weight out of their backpack, and they're not looking at the reasons that people are shaving weight. Ultralight backpacking in itself is not strictly about, going and cutting straps off your backpack, cutting the tags off of your t-shirt, or busting out a pair of scissors and cutting your toothbrush in half to help you save yourself a couple ounces out of your gear loadout. And at the end of the day, the ultimate goal of an ultralight backpacker is to use a culmination of those things in order to achieve a goal of generally getting yourself to that 10-pound base weight. And if you're not sure what base weight is, I'm going to talk base weight a lot in this video. Your base weight is your backpacking gear minus any consumables. Basically anything but your food, your fuel, and your water. Your consumables that you're going to go through on your trip. The second lie about ultralight backpacking that I wanted to talk about is that as an ultralight backpacker, you are generally unsafe when you're out there on trail. And as somebody who's been backpacking for nearly 20 years, and it was only really within the last 5 years that I made the transition to an ultralight backpacker, I would say that as an ultralight backpacker, I actually feel a lot safer out there on trail than when I was carrying a much heavier, more comprehensive gear loadout. The biggest one when it comes to safety that people talk about is a first aid kit. And there's a lot of ultralight backpackers out there, not all, but there is a lot, that as a first aid kit, they're just carrying a simple little Ziploc bag with like 3 Band-Aids, 2 aspirin, and maybe a Tums in there. And to me, that's not the route that I go. I do actually carry a full comprehensive first aid kit when I go backpacking, because while my base weight may be down to about 10.7 pounds right now, which I know is probably going to irk some purists out there because I haven't hit the 10-pound mark, and personally I don't really care. I'm still going to call myself an ultralight backpacker. If you guys want to roast me in the comments section, please have fun doing so. But this is my first aid kit that I carry with me on every backpacking trip. It is pretty comprehensive. I'm not going to go over everything that's in my first aid kit, but if you guys are interested in everything I carry inside this little kit here, I've got a full video that I have previously shot on that. I'll pop that right here for you guys in the cards. I just wanted to bring my first aid kit out to show you guys that it is entirely possible to be considered an ultralight backpacker and still have all of the, safety precautions that a regular weight or, heavy backpacker would carry. Because while some of us do go to ridiculous lengths like trimming down our toothbrush to save a couple ounces, there are reasons why we do stuff like this, and it is to carry stuff like this. That's a big one for me. Safety is a big one for me personally. And yes, I have trimmed down my toothbrush in the interest of carrying a more comprehensive first aid kit. It's just kind of one of those goals that I had. And for myself, I found it a bit of a personal challenge. It is pretty common to see these, kind of really lackluster first aid kits in a lot of ultralight gear loadouts. And myself personally, I do believe in safety. So, it's entirely possible to be safe out there on trail while carrying an ultralight gear loadout. And while we are talking safety, kind of a safety question I have for all of you guys and gals, and let me know in the comments section, what do you guys and gals think would be a safer alternative and less likely to cause injury and even less likely to cause more serious injury? Walking down your stairs at home carrying 15 pounds or walking down your stairs at home carrying 45 pounds? Let me know. Another big lie out there in regards to ultralight backpacking is that you're always going to be cold. I've been doing ultralight backpacking for about 5 years now, and I have yet to have a cold night out there on trail. I personally hike in an area where every single month of the year, snow is a possibility that you do have to plan for. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen for you guys from a backpacking trip that I did in the middle of August. And on top of those tents, that is snow. And that is something I have to take into consideration. And like I said, I have yet to have a cold night out there on trail. As I pointed out with my first aid kit, we make a lot of UL sacrifices, as I'll call them, in the interest of, gaining a little bit of weight in other areas. And for me, my sleep system is an area that I wanted to make sure that I was not sacrificing. Now, granted, it's going to be a lot easier for somebody who's living down in Florida where, you're dealing with tropical temperatures almost year round compared to someone like me up in Northern Canada where, as you can see, we definitely don't deal with tropical temperatures all that often. Now, this next one has to do with the cost associated with ultralight backpacking. I'm not going to sit here and try and convince you guys that all ultralight backpacking gear is dirt cheap. That would be a lie, because I'm sure we have all looked at, websites like Z-Packs and Hyperlight Mountain Gear and checked out some of these really, really nice Dyneema tents that they have. And then you look at the price tag of them and you're just like barfing in your mouth. Yes, some of this ultralight gear is insanely, stupidly expensive. I am not going to deny that, but I am not going to sit here and tell you guys that you have to break the bank to go ultralight. Like I said, I've got a 10.7 pound base weight, and I do not own a single Dyneema shelter. I don't own any of the super ultralight, ultra high end custom down quilts. All of my down quilts that I have are all sort of like the econ or like the budget mode with the 800 fill power duck down. All of my tents and tarps that I have are really lightweight sil poly or sil nylon. Do not let the cost of backpacking gear sway you away from going ultralight or even going with lighter weight gear. There are lots of companies out there like 3FUL, Featherstone, Outdoor Vitals, Tokes, and even companies like Hammock Gear and UGQ make custom quilts with, like I previously mentioned, 800 fill power down that are a lot more budget friendly, and they are going to cost you a lot less than those higher end, 850 to 950 fill power ultra custom quilts that a lot of these ultralight backpackers and thru hikers are using. Ultralight backpacking does not have to break the bank. And to prove that to you guys, I've got an entire playlist on budget ultralight gear. I'll pop that up in the cards for you guys. We've talked about the cost and the comfort level of a lot of this ultralight backpacking gear, but let's talk about the durability. That seems to be another really big misconception that people have when it comes to ultralight gear, is that it just doesn't last. I'm not really sure where that comes from. I just kind of get the general sense that a lot of people who say that this ultralight gear is super frail and super fragile have never used it, never laid their hands on it. If you've ever grabbed, a Dyneema tarp and, just held it and pulled on it and, just like checked it out, you'll realize that this is really, really well-made stuff. And it is not as delicate as you're gonna think. All backpacking gear is eventually gonna break down, and all backpacking gear is susceptible to rips and tears and, abrasion and wearing out. And ultralight gear is no different. All backpacking gear is going to have some kind of fail point at some point in time. And in the general context of a backpacking trip, ultralight gear is going to serve you just fine. It's not going to fail you if you take care of it. If you are looking at getting some new gear for the upcoming backpacking season, I have recently shot a video on a bunch of new gear that I'm going to be using that I think will really interest you guys. And I'll fire that right here for you. So check that out when you're done with this one. I'm sure you'll enjoy. As always, I am Matty. Thank you so dang much for watching. Go Oilers, go, and I'll see you on the next one.